Now let's look at solving systems of equations using substitution method. All right. Now how do you go about this? For example, if I have now let's look at solving systems of equations using substitution method. Now with substitution, for example, if you have now let's look at solving systems of equations using substitution method. Now, if you have y equal to 5 minus 2x as, let's say, first equation, and then I have 4x plus, let's say, 3y equal to 13 as my equation 2. Now, we have these two equations with variables x and y to solve. We want to know the values of x and y using substitution method. Now, in this case, we can see that from the second equation, we can see y here. And then the first equation, y is equal to 5 minus 2x. To substitute means to replace. And so wherever we see y in the second equation, we are going to substitute 5 minus 2x because y is equal to 5 minus 2x. So I have my 4x plus 3 times y, and my y is 5 minus 2x equal to 13. At this point, I'm now going to distribute my 3 over 5 minus 2x. So 3 will multiply 5, and that gives me 15. And then 3 goes ahead to multiply negative 2x, and that gives me negative 6x, which is equal to 13. Now 4x and negative 6x. So 4x minus 6x will give me negative 2x plus my 15 equal to 13. At this point, now I want to get rid of this 15, so I do the inverse. So minus 15 on both sides, negative 15 on both sides. And so 15 minus 15 will be 0, so I bring my minus 2x here equal to 13 minus 15 will give me negative 2. At this point, I want my x, so I divide both sides by the coefficient of x, which is negative 2. So divide both sides by negative 2. Negative 2 goes into negative 2. That is 1. 1 times x is still x. 1x is the same as x. And negative 2 divided by negative 2 will give me 1. So this is the value of my x. Now I can put x back into equation 1 and solve for my y. Or I can as well put it in equation 2. But it's easier putting it into equation 1, sorry. So put x, which is equal to 1, into equation 1. And so I'll have y, which is equal to 5 minus, equation 1 is 5 minus 2x. So y will now be 5 minus 2 times x is what? 1. And so I'll have 5 minus 2 times 1 is 2. And that gives me what? 3. And so my y is now equal to 3. So I have my y equal to 3. When you finish, put it in an ordered pair form. So in an ordered pair, when x is 1, y is 3. Okay, so this is the solution for these two simultaneous equations. All right. Okay, so what if I have another equation? Let's look at this one. Y equal to, say, 3x plus 2 as one equation, let's say equation 1, and another one, y equal to 7x minus 6 as my equation 2. Okay, how do I do this? Now we know y is equal to this in equation 1, which is 3x plus 2. And so wherever I see y in equation 2, I'll put 3x plus 2. So I can then write it as 3x plus 2 equal to 7x minus 6. All right, so at this point, what do? I can group like terms. I want to bring the terms with the x on the left side. So when this crosses it, it becomes negative. So 3x, when 7x crosses the equal sign, it becomes minus 7x equal to, don't forget we have negative 6 here already. Then 2 also crosses it, becoming negative 2. All right. 3x minus 7x will give me negative 4x equal to negative 6 minus 2 will give me negative 8. Now I want my x, so I divide both sides by negative 4, which is the coefficient of x. And so when I do that, negative 4 goes into negative 4. That will give me 1. 1 times x is x. So x equal to, now negative 8 divided by negative 4 will give me positive 2. So that is the value of x. At this point, I can put x into any of the two equations. So let's say put x into equation 1. So I will then have my y, which is equal to 3x plus 2. So I'm going to put x, which is 2 there. So y will now be equal to 3 times 2 plus 2. And that will be 3 times 2 is 6. And 6 plus 2 will give me 8. So my y is also equal to what? 8. Now I put it in an ordered pair. And so finally it will be, when x is 2, y is what? 8. All right. Okay. So let's look at last equation. Let's look at this. Supposing I have say 4x plus 2y equal to 14, and then I have another equation as 3x minus 5y equal to negative 22. Let me call this equation 1 and let me call this equation 2. Now at this point, you see that none of the variables has been made the subject. So what can I do? Now it's easier to make y the subject in equation 1 so that I will substitute it into equation 2. All right. So I'll say from equation 1, where I have 4x plus 2y equal to 14. Now I want to make y the subject. So I subtract 4x from both sides. So minus 4x, and so that takes care of it. And so I have my 2y equal to 14 minus 4x. Now I want my y. So what do? I divide through by the coefficient of y, or divide each term by the coefficient of y. So divide here by 2, divide here by 2, and divide here also by 2. And so this takes care of it. That is 1. So my y is equal to 14 divided by 2 will give me 7. And negative 4x divided by 2 will give me negative 2x. All right, now that I have my y as this, I'm going to substitute y into the second equation, equation 2. You can't put it into equation 1 because out of equation 1, that is where you made y the subject. So we substitute it into equation 2. And so my equation 2 is 3x minus 5y equal to negative 22. And so at this point, wherever I see y, I put 7 minus 2x. So I'll have 3x minus 5 times 7 minus 2x equal to negative 22. Then I distribute the negative 5 over 7 minus 2x. So I have my 3x already. Negative 5 times 7 will give me negative 35. And negative 5 times negative 2x will give me positive 10x, which is equal to negative 22. All right. Now I can deal with 3x and 10x. So 3x plus 10x, they are like terms. That will give me 13x minus 35 equal to negative 22. All right. So at this point, I will want to get rid of the 35. So I do the inverse of negative 35 will be positive 35. So plus 35 here, and then plus 35 also at the other side. Okay, so that will be 0. So I have my 13x equal to negative 22 plus 35 will give me what? That will be 13, right? That will be 13. All right, so I divide both sides by the coefficient of x. which is 13, 13, and so my x would then be equal to 13 divided by 13. That will be 1. Okay, so that will be my x. All right, now at this point I want my y. Okay, so what's wrong with my pen? I want my y. So getting my y, I'll put x, which is equal to 1 into, let's say, equation, it can be equation 1. Okay, so I can even put it here, okay, because y was already equal to 7 so put it, let me call that equation 3. So I'll put it into equation 3, okay? Okay, so my y will now be equal to 7 minus 2 times 1. And so I'll have 7 minus 2. 2 times 1 is 2. And so finally my y is called 7 minus 2 is what? 5. All right, so that is my y. And so in a coordinate form, I'll have my x to be 1, y to be 5. Right. So that is how you go about this. Okay. All right. Now,